Hello and welcome to Health Waves podcast. My name is Eilis. I'm a nutritional therapist and your host. Today I'm delighted to be chatting to Celine Nelli, who is also a nutritional therapist with a focus on fertility and postpartum health. Celine is also training to be a postpartum doula, which I'm excited to hear all about. And she's going to chat to us all about postpartum health and a little bit about her journey. You're really welcome today, Celine. Thanks a million for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really looking forward to hearing about the whole doula thing because I just think that's a gorgeous aspect of health. First, can we go back to, we both trained together to be nutritional therapists.
Yeah.
And you are living here in Ireland a long time. Can you tell us about your journey to how you came to focus on female hormones and then fertility and postpartum health?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, we trained together and I just wanted to know more about nutrition first. I did the first year because I just had my second baby and had a food aversion. So I wanted to make sure I had all the nutrients through food. I did a lot of reading, but after having the baby, I wanted to learn more. So I did the nutrition coaching. So 1 year, and then I just love it so much that I wanted to get more details and really get into the biology and the physiology of the body. I graduated to be a nutritional therapist and went to wanting to help everybody.
We all want to fix everything and sort out everybody's issues.
But then I was like, okay, maybe I really loved hormones when we did the module. I went over 30 years of my life not knowing my body, and I just felt sad about it. I had that negative thought around menstrual cycle and the bleed, and so like really learning about it made me empowered and really positive about it all, that it's just part of who we are and to embrace it. So I was like, okay, I want to help women. I had my first child, I had a really traumatic birth and my nutritional lifestyle was really bad. I was 26 at the time, drinking processed food. I was 26 and great, but I wasn't. Or I thought I was, but I wasn't. Yeah, but so there was no sign up to then.
Okay.
I was swallowing, but no sign apart from that. And so I had to have an emergency section.
Oh, goodness, that was scary.
And 2 days in ICU, 10 days in total. Went back, had a C-section, had to take care of a newborn that I had no clue about. And I had to take care of my health because my blood pressure had to normalise, and it took a while.
And you were in Ireland. You're
exactly isolated.
Family.
Yeah, I was 26 and I just got along. It's only the last few years reflecting about it and trying to pick up things. Why I want to help women is having that support postpartum is more and more talked about. But normalizing that it is okay not to feel okay, to look after your mental health. But nutrition and lifestyle play a big role, and it's really empowering and educating women on how I can help, or how we can help as nutritional therapists during that really vulnerable.
And I think you and I both feel we would love to go back and nearly have our babies all over again, knowing what we know now, and to be able to put that back into our lives then. But at least we now have that knowledge to pass on to young women now, and hopefully that make their lives better around that time.
Yeah. And society feel that, oh, you just have to get on with it. But it's all about the baby and you when you're pregnant, and then all of a sudden the baby is out, and it's such a beautiful thing. But I felt society pressure into
looking perfect
as soon as possible, but you're not going to go back to normal. It is a new life with a little human that you have to help grow and thrive. It is personal for everybody. Some people will recover easier. It will all depend on age, like how pregnancy went, fertility issue beforehand as well, that emotional toll that fertility treatment can have. I'm really passionate about trying to support women from end to end in that journey. Each part can have an impact on postpartum and recovery, and then if people want to have more children, trying to help them be the best version of themselves, not replenished and feeling good before they go again.
So you have 3 lovely programs on your website. The Postnatal MOT, which is a great name, isn't it? Just to check out exactly where you are at that time and then offer the supports needed. And then the Maternal Reset and Bump to Bump program. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the first one is really the MOT, so it's your NCT after birth. And it's all about pregnancy and postpartum. The baby drains the nutrients out of you, and then postpartum, especially if you're breastfeeding, it takes a lot. The stress, the sleepless night. So it's really like one of the most vulnerable time, as I said earlier, like for a woman. So it's trying to help women with blood work that they might need to see how their thyroid is, how their nutrient status is, because sometimes the low mood, low energy, yes, it is around sleepless night, the stress of having a crying baby or not knowing what to do. Sometimes it's just deficiency in some nutrients, like how's your iron, how's your B12, how's your vitamin D, iodine. They're all really important nutrients around that time. And then obviously the thyroid, you can feel depressed if your thyroid is out of whack. So it's really trying to make sure that everything is as optimal as possible, and then putting nutrition, lifestyle and supplement protocol in. So it's one just to support during the fourth trimester.
Lovely.
Then if it's not your first child or you want support around low energy and having the coaching element. Some women want to lose weight after having a baby, which is okay, but I always prioritize to replenish them, making sure everything is in the optimal range before we look at weight loss. And usually by putting things into place, and naturally they would lose weight, blood sugar balancing.
Of course.
Their target by helping. So it's really like more coaching. We see each other. So we have an initial consultation, and then it's a 3-month program.
Lovely.
Just to support. And then the last one, and it's my favorite, is really if you want to have another child, is making sure that you're replenished, that you're emotionally ready, and that you can go again. Because a lot of women will go from one pregnancy to another depleted to the ground. It can take a big toll on women on an ongoing basis. Some women, it might take 10 years for them to look after themselves because they have 3-4 kids, and then they just like focus on them. They forget themselves, that they are a woman and that still needs them. So like the best version of themselves, the better. Really passionate about helping someone going from postpartum to fertility to support.
Yeah, as I say, so much is depleted from you. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was a program like this for every female when they leave the maternity ward? Would it be fantastic? And then imagine like the health of that mother, the benefits to their health, and then that is of course going to benefit the health of their baby. They're going to be able to breastfeed successfully and not suffer with any anxiety or depression afterwards, and probably also help reduce the risks of postnatal depression and things like that.
That can definitely support. I know a lot of women want to go back to their genes after.
I know we were just saying that it was a real badge of honour, wasn't it? That, and pressure that we put on ourselves, which is such nonsense. And society and women do that to each other.
And they might go back to their genes. If they're not replenished, they're still going to feel energy, low mood, and it's not going to solve the issue. But it's educating a woman and really normalizing that it is okay to look after yourself postpartum.
Yeah. Can you just explain maybe a little bit about what is going on with the female hormones after they have given birth? What is happening to the hormones and what effect is that having on them?
Our hormones are all over the place, especially if we're breastfeeding. We're just not having any ovulatory cycle. Ovulation obviously is important in a female body because it's how estrogen and progesterone in harmony, they're rising and they're decreasing. But postpartum, that doesn't happen. Our hormones are
flatline. There isn't a rise in any particular hormone.
And it takes a while. So it can take 4 to 6 weeks if you don't breastfeed, and then 4 to 6 months if you breastfeed to get back to a regular cycle. Obviously, if you had issue with your cycle beforehand, PCOS, irregular cycle, painful cycle, it's definitely something that needs to be supported because it might come back. So definitely looking after that. But then it just takes time. And for breastfeeding, it depends on how much you breastfeed, the size of the baby. It should decrease. Ovulation should resume after 4 to 6 months, depending on those factors. But every woman is different, so it can take longer for some women than others, and how their cycle were before being pregnant.
How important is nutrition postpartum?
Yeah, it's postpartum and how nutrition can impact making sure that you have good nutrition during labor, recovery. And there's a lot of emphasis about nutrition for breastfeeding. But for me, nutrition should be for all women. They say that giving birth is like running a marathon. It is so energy dense that we don't realize because we feel that it's a natural thing and that it happens and then we can get on with things. Things like how much you bled during labor or even after, making sure that your iron level is checked or that you have a talk with the doctor before leaving the hospital to make sure that you get a supplement if you did bleed a lot or you just focus on a lot of iron rich. Bone broth is actually really good.
Bone broth,
It's
yeah.
collagen,
Brilliant.
glycine, so it's really good for tissue repair.
I know.
Your uterus is expanding so much and you're pushing a little human out of your body. If you have a section, you have the scar.
Repair, or the damage there needs repair. And you mentioned supplements then. Would you see that as a place then for supplements?
As women during pregnancy, we do almost everything for nutrition. We just eat the right thing. We just avoid things that are too dangerous because we're protecting the baby.
Yeah.
It's not necessary for us, but it's really for the baby. And then the baby arrives and we just thinks that we don't need it anymore. And it's probably the time where, as along with nutrition, like a balanced meal, like with enough protein, healthy fat, complex carbs, any other time of your life, that is important. But then supplement because you're tired, stressed, you don't sleep well.
The sleep.
For me, continuing the pregnancy multi that you were on.
Okay, so it'll be a multi that covers B vitamins and
just
everything.
Choline, iron. So they're really round up. So the same as they were during pregnancy. I would also omega-3, like it's something that I would recommend. Again, they should be on it from pregnancy. It's really important, like it's anti-inflammatory and it is, especially if during those first few weeks they don't eat salmon or any omega-3 rich food, that can fill the gap as well.
Yeah, and there's great research around omega-3 for pregnancy in Australia. I think they're rolling it out. They're going to give it to all pregnant women because of the benefits to the baby's brain in the early part of life and all of that. So it's amazing research and great knowledge to have. So if they're not eating oily fish a few times a week, they should really be on that.
Yeah, definitely. So like they're the main two, obviously bone broth or even a collagen supplement, like those first few weeks will be a nice addition, especially if you're not hungry, like in a smoothie, they're quite easy to have. But yeah, definitely supplements. And I will go the first 3 months, so the fourth trimester, and then maybe do blood work, check your levels and then see how they are. Obviously with supplement, you just want your digestion to be optimal as well. So you just want to pick up on any symptoms that your digestion might be compromised because absorption impaired.
And when you think about it, after you have a baby, most mothers, they're bringing their babies for their appointments, their checkups, to see the different stages. And yet we should also be going seeing where our bloods are and all of that kind of thing. But switch into focusing on baby and not yourself.
The GP only has 5 minutes. It's a new little human. So they want to make sure that they're thriving and they're putting on weight. But then the mum is left. And it's, as a mum, is, oh my God, but they were always asking me about my bump and how I was. And then all of a sudden the focus is on the baby. You just don't feel that you have the right to say anything that I'm not okay or I'm feeling tired.
So, Celine, would you like to share a case study of somebody that you're working with?
Yeah. So I finished working with her probably 3 to 4 months. And she was
6 months postpartum when she actually got in touch with you.
And like she was feeling low energy, but her main focus was that she was told that she had low AMH.
Exactly is that?
It's your egg quantity. It's released by your eggs and it's like a predictor on how much egg reserve you have left. But it is in no way an indicator on your fertility. To be pregnant, you only need 1 egg. But there's a lot of emphasis these days around AMH. And when your AMH is low, then they put pressure, try for a baby or go through IVF. This particular client had never ovulated. And on her first child, he was able to conceive through ovulation induction, so with medication. And then she was told I wouldn't wait too long to have the second child. So that's why she came to me. She wanted to prepare for the second child, but she wanted to recover from her first child.
Okay.
So we work together, and when they come to you, there's always weight loss, but obviously it's not the primary goal.
Yeah.
It's always there somewhere. We work on really replenishing and nutrients and trying to work on our ovulation, really nurturing the cycle, like the follicular phase and the luteal phase, and making sure that trying for her to ovulate, which she did. She never did before.
So she never ovulated before, and her first pregnancy came about through what
medication.
Through medication, ovulation.
Yeah.
And so through the work that you did with her, you were actually able to bring her natural ovulation.
And she fell pregnant after 3 months.
So
naturally.
Wow. So she came
medication.
to you 6 months postpartum and was pregnant 3 months later. I'm sure you were able to support her in her nutrition and lifestyle and everything to cope with looking after a baby and being pregnant.
Yeah. And there's a part of reality check as well. You have to meet the clients that they are and taking into account it's not going to be perfect.
No.
It's okay. As long as you're consistent, you always have to emphasize that, especially for new moms, because they feel really like
They put themselves under
there's so much pressure. They'll be like, oh, but I didn't do that. Tell me, what did you eat? And it's actually really good. So it's just like trying to meet them where they are. They don't have a lot of time. So trying to find solution to make things easier for them. And obviously the stress and soothing the nervous system is important. They don't have a lot of time. So again, having those micro tips or micro meditation or even just for 10 minutes. We're a generation of doers. And unless you do something, you feel useless.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you need is just don't do anything for 10 minutes.
So when she came to you then, I'm presuming there's quite an in-depth questionnaire and consultation. Do you want to talk us through a little about that?
Her period, does she have any endocrine issue, obviously her fertility journey, what her diet eats, what she likes, what she doesn't like, what's her lifestyle, and then trying to take everything into account and really focus on what is going to be beneficial for that client, where she was at, what really making sure that she wasn't depleted, that her blood sugar was balanced. We work on egg quality, so making sure that she had a lot of anti-inflammatory foods through her diet. I also gave tips to making sure that her husband was also on top of her sperm health.
Would you like to give us a few tips on egg quality and sperm health and nutrition?
Yeah, sure. It's all about, so, you know, like we're all seeing that Mediterranean diet is what you have to do for fertility. There's a lot of study around the benefits. Definitely having anti-inflammatory food, omega-rich foods, oily fish, nuts, seeds, chia seed, walnuts, a lot of fruit and vegetables for the antioxidant part. Different colors will have definitely health benefits. But then it's also trying to figure out, is there any inflammatory triggers or issues with the lifestyle or the nutrition of the client's digestive issue? If there's any, it's always good to address because they can be a trigger.
And if there's a digestive issue, they're not going to be able to absorb no matter how good their diet is.
And then there's that inflammation of the gut lining. So really looking at that blood sugar balance and making sure that it's balanced for energy, but also to avoid oxidative stress and inflammation. But then lifestyle things, over-exercise.
That can be a big thing. Can't it? Stress too at certain time.
Yeah.
And especially for females, do you know Dr. Minty? I love the way she talks about exercise in terms of your female cycle, whereas women often plow ahead all through the months when it should be at a different level.
Yeah.
This is where nutritional therapists are able to look on everyone as individuals and look at her life, look at what's going on, busy with the baby, and bring things in that'll fit into her life.
Yeah. But then we also look at evidence-based. Maybe someone has used it a lot and the evidence is there more on the practical level. Big warning will be to work with somebody who gives a blanket plan that doesn't take your lifestyle, your nutrition, your environment as well, like the toxins that you're exposed to. Everything needs to be looked at. and then really have a personalized plan to fit your goal, but then also your life. It has to be sustainable and realistic. There's no point for me to cook every day,
Make
for
our own
2
broth.
hours. We have to meet the client where
Yeah.
parts.
Even what their cooking skills are like, what their home environment is like. And this is where I'm sure you're able to give great support then in terms of recipes and things that people can fit in into their life.
Yeah. Or ways, do you want to meal prep? Can you ask your partner to help, especially around that postpartum phase? That's why I like to see them before having the baby, because I can give them a lot of recipe and say, okay, you ask your partner, you ask your mom, you get a meal train going with your friends. Friends are great.
Yeah.
But it's all flowers, chocolates. There's so much more that they can do.
This is what do you think that mothers to be or postpartum mothers should ask of their partners or family or friends at that time to support them?
I think, and when we don't have the baby, it's hard to like project ourselves on how it's going to be, but having a plan and meal train, definitely asking people to help them with, can you bring me that, and give them the recipes that has nutrient dense.
Too nice to ask, but actually it's so much more beneficial than a beautiful baby growers.
And I put my hands up, like I was like that on my children, because you feel that society is saying you're the mother, you have to cook, you have to be having that nice house, clean, everything has to be perfect, the baby has to be in this nice
outfit
and
great.
but like it's not realistic, and it's trying to normalize, okay, ask for help. I wish I had asked for more help than I did, because it's not a weakness, it's really a strength. Then you don't have to stress around cooking dinners or doing housework. You can focus on the baby and have that bonding time. As you said, I would love to do it all over again, because I feel that the 6-8 first weeks were haze, and I just probably didn't enjoy them as much as I should.
Yeah, I remember hearing that historically mothers were allowed to stay in bed with their baby, feed, and were looked after by the household. I was that person trying to have the house spotless. I remember getting up and making brown bread hour after the hour and trying to have everything perfect. I think that's why I ended up training as a baby massage instructor. I wanted to give that time to mothers and their babies, which is another part of kind of postpartum health, which is a lovely class that you can go to. So that brings me on a little bit to the doula part, which I think is fabulous. Tell me a little bit about the training and what it is.
Yeah, so I did the training the last 3 days. It's really fresh. Because of my story and not enjoying postpartum or struggling with it, but then getting on with it and never had time to reflect. For the last few years, I'm like, okay, postpartum is more and more talked about, but it's still not talked about enough, I find. Like fertility is talked a lot, or more and more menopause, but then postpartum, it's like another area that it's there.
Yeah, it's like you've had the baby, everything's gone fine, great, get on with it.
It doesn't mean that you might have had the best birth and still need that support. The doula is someone that comes and supports the family. The main person is the mom, but they help with the baby, help with the partner or family members if they're around. It's giving emotional support, information, where to find things. It can be baby care, things that might have happened, physical things that can happen to the mother after birth, the bleeding, the hormones, making them aware of all that and giving that safe space with no judgment. So you can come in, and it depends on what the family might need, but if they might need help with cooking.
So are you physically helping as a doula?
Not yet.
Okay,
but like ideally, that's what I like to do, or give it a go. And maybe group settings as well, having that social network, because it can be really isolating for women
and the people who are maybe new to the country or whose families are abroad, and they may not have that kind of network if they're not from an area, or even within Ireland, if they're from the country and living in Dublin, they may not have that network. I presume as a doula, know where to put your finger on the different resources within an area, all the different supports that are out there.
So like sleep, it's really normalizing everything. If someone is feeling something, normalizing it. In the books, usually it's like that ideal picture of my baby will sleep after so many weeks, and if they don't, then you feel, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? So just normalizing that as a person, we're different to the next person, and babies are the same. Supporting them, and I would have loved to have that support when I had mine. Am I doing things okay, or I'm feeling that way? Is that normal? I even take the baby and I go for a walk. I will always remember it was my first child 19 years ago. Actually 19 next week. But I had the fit. I was in ICU. But then 2 days after, I was back in the ward. I had a C-section and I had to breastfeed this little human. And I was so tired because my blood pressure was still all over the place. And I just couldn't stand it. So what I did, I wheeled the baby to reception and left her there, the nurse. I feel terrible, but I just couldn't. Physically and emotionally, I was so exhausted. Even a doula can actually help people around that if you had a difficult birth or if you don't want to be on your own. On my second one, if I had known about the doula work, I would have loved, because you just feel so lonely, your hormones are all over the place and you're just exhausted.
It sounds like such a gorgeous support. So would somebody then get for a certain amount of time postpartum, or is that just very flexible?
It's a requirement on what the family wants. Obviously, it's light housework. It's really helping, like folding clothes, like whatever, like to the pressure of them all. And there is also like the probably more popular or a known birth doula. You can have that through the birth, but postpartum can be before you plan. It can be during the stay in the hospital if you had, if you had a C-section or something like that. But then it's really trying, like most of the people would probably be the first 6 weeks, and it's really tough. But then it can be all after that.
But then as a nutritional therapist, you're able to offer them so much in terms of advice on their nutrition. So you're going to be like their own personal nutritional therapist come doula. It's fantastic.
Yeah, like my wish is to give that hand to hand if the struggle with their hormones, their fertility. And then during pregnancy, like women feel that they don't need it during pregnancy. It can be tough to get your head around it, especially when nausea, the first trimester is horrible.
Absolutely,
That support is still needed during pregnancy, about supporting them about any symptoms. If they have gestational diabetes, thyroid issue, it's just give them support and guidance. But then postpartum, I think, is for the postpartum phase, it's like all about don't run before you can walk. So helping them really take it easy, taking care of themselves, that it's okay and it's allowed. It's an act of love for themselves. Flamingos, when they give birth and feed the baby, they go from pink to grey. You can see that they're depleted just by looking at them. Unfortunately, women, you don't change colour. Sometimes you don't even see that they're struggling. I just find that image is so powerful, like to have something on us that will show, okay, I need help, because sometimes it's really difficult.
As bad as it was when my eldest is now 28, and as bad as things were, magazines and society pressure to be as good as whatever was seen out there. But now you've got social media, and I think that's really difficult. Strangely, I was only thinking of it the other day. I was looking at Joe Wicks, who I absolutely love, Joe Wicks, and his wife has just had another beautiful baby. They have these beautiful children and perfect home, according to social media. I'm sure everything's not perfect. She is postpartum and on this training program and looks amazing. I was thinking to myself, this must be so difficult for people to look at, because they have a team of people around them. She probably has all the help in terms of nutrition and chefs and I don't know, but just so much support.
I think they have
privilege for people looking at that who could be in the same stage after having a baby. They may feel so crap about themselves.
My advice for that would be to maybe go off social media. Postpartum is a vulnerable time, and social media can be a huge trigger. All those people not struggling and everything is great. And
you are in a vulnerable phase, so you may not be processing things the same.
Sleep deprived and everything is, but look at them and look at me. I'm sure they're struggling. Like social media, it's only like a certain
little snapshot of their day.
So I'm sure they have their moments. If you follow them, keep in mind that, it's not everybody struggle their own way.
Take a step back following that. So that would bring me to maybe 3 tips for somebody either going through postpartum or maybe heading towards having a baby.
If you can plan ahead, especially around nutrition, You can have some nourishing meals in the freezer.
Yeah.
Before you go into labor, into the hospital, you get a list of a recipe, and then you can give them to people so that they can bring that to you.
Brilliant.
I think taking your supplement and then making sure that you continue taking supplements, that will definitely bridge
any nutrients
yeah,
gap.
exactly. Especially those first few weeks when everybody's going back to work and you're left, maybe nutrition or food is not going to be your priority, but definitely to replenish supplement and nutrition for that trimester. And my last one would be kind with yourself. Get as much help as you can. It can be difficult, but it does get better. And remember that little baby is such a gift, but they don't know how to communicate. So it's really frustrating when you don't know what it needs.
Yeah.
But you're doing your best and giving them as much love as possible. So be kind with yourself.
I know. And you know, it is probably the most important job in the whole world.
Yeah, it's giving love.
And remember that.
Those 6 weeks are really difficult, 6-8 weeks, but they're the most magical as well. Their smell and the way that they are, and they need you, the skin to skin, it's beautiful as well.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I do think, and it's for people as well. I remember I only got one gift for myself. Everything else was for the baby.
I know. And
So
you actually do a lovely gift package, don't you, as well?
Yeah,
That I think is just such a gorgeous idea.
Consultation, a recorded webinar, essential oil as well.
Fabulous.
Because the mom needs useful things as well.
That is an amazing gift for anybody, I think.
To society, think about the mother as well. The baby has everything they need. They don't need a lot in the first few weeks. I remember I got so many clothes that I probably didn't use them all because they grow so fast. So think about the mother, like a doula voucher.
Baby massage voucher. So many lovely gifts, aren't there? That has been so interesting. I love the idea of the doula and the huge role that nutrition plays and how a nutritional therapist can make it so individual.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, Femme Nutrition and Wellbeing.
So that's spelled
Femme. So the femme, French woman term.
Yeah.
And then my website is www.celinenellinutrition.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
lovely. That's brilliant. I wish you all the very best. Thanks so much, Celine.
Thank you very much.